I had a different role when I was asked to come here. I was supposed to be the National Secretary, and I was going to be inviting you and doing exactly what Pankaj was doing all this while. And as soon as I came in, he said, I'm going to flip this role. I'm going to ask you to speak about your experiences and so on. And so that put me in a bit of a tizzy, and I'm still wondering what I'm supposed to be speaking to you all about. But be that as it may, I'm going to ask you to do a couple of things even before we start the entire proceedings today, tomorrow. Here is what I wish you to do. At your own table, speak to your neighbor, speak to anybody at your own table, and ask them, why are you here? Go ahead. And if you're all by yourself, sir, please go to another table and ask yourself and tell others, why are you here? Why are you here? Go ahead. Please. Yeah, please go ahead. Walk across. Please go ahead. Ask yourself, why are you here? Tell the other person, why are you here? Done? Everybody done? Very good. Okay. The most animated tables are those tables where people are really wondering, hey, listen, I have no idea why I'm here, but I'm hoping to take something back. Now, maybe you could do the next exercise, which is, how can you make your time over here more productive? How will you work through today and tomorrow? And what is your best advice, not for yourself, for your neighbor, and say, listen, if you want to you want to derive a lot of value out of this program, this is what you should do. Okay? Go advise your neighbors. This is a time for advisory. Go ahead. Advise your neighbor. Tell him, this is how you should attend a program, this is what you should be doing in a program. Go ahead. Give your most valued advice. Don't hold yourself. Just tell them, this is what you should be doing. Okay, are you all done? Raise your hands if you've already done this. This table is, okay, we got the last table. Nobody's raised their hands. Okay, they have. Okay, very good. I saw some of the panel members also raise their hands. Well, what is one reason, other than the fact that we called you to speak, but what is the one reason why you're here? Anybody? We love outsourcing work. You're here. You need to talk a lot about outsourcing, and of course, Mr. Kamal Singh is here because he's organizing the whole program. I'm here as a National Secretary, so I have to come in and speak to you, so that's here. What's your best advice to attend these programs? Participating a lot is a good one.
I would probably note down certain things which I can take back and connect with work. So some of these answers, very forward triggers, you can take a lot of things to write it down.
You write down a few things, you'll remember a few things, and that's how we do it. Professor Das? About what the shared service is about, maybe I can learn some new ideas. I'm asking myself, one way I think it's very, very useful is to connect with people that you have not done in eons. Networking is a very undervalued term today. It's very, very good to meet up with old friends. Old friends is not in people who are old, but people you have not seen in some days. Okay. So why are we doing this shared services? What I'm about to do is take you through something that we are seeing in the environment, and I talk about a couple of things. The expectations from HR has changed completely. I think if you look at every organization, each organization is asking itself, what is the value which is derived by each function? NHRD and Deloitte led a research study, and this is a study where it worked with over 2,500 organizations met with a lot of CEOs and CHROs, and here are their top 4 findings, that these are the things which are the most valued findings of this is the priority for human resources today. The first one is, how will you develop leaders? That's number 1 on that list. Not surprising, it has remained there for the last 3 years since we have done this study. Every year we do the study, we find that that's the number 1 on that list. Number 2, talent acquisition and retention. Not surprising, in today's day and age, this is something which is extremely important for us. The third one is reskilling human resources. The third one is reskilling human resources. By the way, if you think that this is something which is innate to India, it is not. If you look at what's happening in the world at large, it still figures in the top 7 of the priorities for human resources specialists. Number 3 is reskilling HR. And the number 4th one is, how will you engage your talent? So talent engagement is the number 4. I won't bore you with the rest of it. There are very detailed studies. They're all available on the net. But the one that really caught my eye, and this is something which is asking deeper questions, is reskilling HR. And when I'm talking about reskilling HR, they are talking about reskilling HR as in a transformational human resources today. The demands that are being placed on human resources is very different from the ones that we have seen in the past. New businesses are coming in. We are looking at older businesses are getting far more complex. Today's technology has turned the world completely upside down. And in all this, don't forget that India is being seen as an ocean of talent. And every organization from outside the world, global organizations, are all making a beeline here to India. And there's an expectation. And there are movements. There are tectonic movements and some patterns that we see today. I list these as the 5 top things that I see as a human resources professional for a few years. Number 1, I think there is a big sea change in the whole world called expectations. Whatever that you delivered yesterday, people are wanting to see this faster, better, more efficient. And not to forget, people are looking at another one, which is the whole experience. So which is the second one? It's not about just walking into an organization. And there were the good old days that I remember that I used to, if I go to an organization for, let's say, meeting somebody, you would be asked to wait very respectfully. There's a cup of tea or coffee, and the meeting never takes place on time. What impression will you have about that organization? Even today, people who come into organizations for an interview, they're being chaperoned, they're made to have an experience which is so different. It's almost like a signature experience, because that is the world of today. There's a big sea change in the experience that is asked of all of us. Education is another big one. Try to find any individual who is under the age of 20 and ask that person to see a video which is more than 4 minutes. Impossible. So the way that even education is being rendered today is very, very different. You have a lot of issues around how you deal with the generation of today, culture, not to forget technology. Technology is completely changing the way that we render our services. So in all of this, which we have as a change, which we see as a changes, a couple of things stand out. One is organizations are getting to standardize things, which is very easy. They're looking at processes. But the key one today, everybody is asking ourselves is, okay, all of this is fine, but HR leaders, this is all that you're doing, but what value does it add to me? As HR people in this room, and particularly point number 3 that I made, or the study that I talked to you about, people are looking at what kind of data do you have? The whole world today is looking at big data. Forget the word big, but the accent is not on the big, the accent is on transformation. How do I, as an HR professional, transform myself? Many times I look at what data that I have and what kind of information that I can distill from that. How can I, with that information that I distill, how can I gather some insights? And when I gather that insights, how can I predict, which means what kind of a foresight could I have? Our ability in HR today, which is the one thing that is preventing us from leapfrogging and making sure that we don't exist on any of these surveys which says that HR competency is being questioned, is our ability to communicate value. And I'm going to spend a minute on this. We do a lot of work. I've not seen any HR professional who does anything less than hard work, smart work. Ask yourself, do you really go back every day feeling that you have not given enough of yourself? And sometimes you ask yourself, my God, I feel that I should be far more appreciated for the value that I derive, for the value that I give. But the key is, are you communicating this value? What is our ability to communicate that value? And therein lies the answer. Do we talk the language that people understand? Are we able to go and speak to somebody and say, look, I think you should look at this idea because recently there was something which was happening in my organization has undergone some transformation. Almost the last 3 years. This is something that we did. The HR organization, we moved it and we've recast it. We recast it into 3 broad buckets. The first bucket, we call it the business advisors. The second one, we call it core talent services. Core talent services is anything that you have to render as a service is being done by this. You could say large parts of shared services would fit into that. And the last one is centers of excellence. And centers of excellence would be either in talent acquisition, which would focus only on making sure that the organization acquires that talent. You could have centers of excellence in immigration, or another one is compensation and benefits. But the actual rendering of those services would be in the core talent services. I can tell you with any amount of confidence that this transformation that we have seen in the last 3 years, the people that had to work the hardest are people in every one of those buckets. And the people that really had to prove themselves that this is what value we are adding are really the business advisors. Because you really have to bring all the whole experience and work with as a business partner. And I'm sure that Chandrasekhar is going to be speaking to you tomorrow about this, so I'm not going to steal his thunder, but I'm just going to leave you with this thought. As much as we talk about the transformation that is happening in organizations, ask yourselves, what transformation is going on within you? How can we be better professionals? How can we tell a story? A story that is so compelling that the person who comes up and says, I see what you do. All the fuzziness of the past is given birth to data-driven analytics, and you can say this is exactly what we are doing. We do a lot of work. Many of us go to business schools. Business schools teach us a lot about marketing. They do a lot about research. Our ability to synthesize the research and bring it to our business and say this is how we can apply that is kind of lost in translation. How can we just pull all the elements that we have to provide value? And with this, I'd like to stop here with just one prayer. If at the end of these 2 days, if you're able to take back beyond many things, just one idea that you'd be able to put back to use in your organization, it would have been a big, big success, both for yourself and for people like Pankaj who put all this together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Really appreciate. I know you've juggled your programs, so really appreciate your words, your thoughts, and your presence. Friends, people say that inaugural sessions are supposed to be very formal. You should follow everything to the T. But we at NHRDN love to keep it as interactive or as exciting as it can be. So we will first, before I request Rajiv, I'm going to request his colleague Ryan, if you are here, to please come forward and share with us. So what I'm saying is, so Ryan and team from EY, about few months ago, I would say this was the national conference, I'm told, in Mumbai, November 2014 in Mumbai, that they started doing a research paper on 3 very interesting themes that NHRDN requested them and for their own practice that they do. One is, of course, the talent trends in India. Second aspect, they picked up executive coaching, which is gaining a lot of traction. And third is industrial relations, how they're changing in this VUCA world. So all 3 are very interesting line of threads for the HR community. And we thought, what better can be this forum to release the report. And before that, I'm going to request Ryan to share what these 3 reports are all about. And then we're going to request the panelists here to unveil the report. And I'm told a copy will be available on HRD Network website, which will happen very soon. And before I request, can I ask organizers if someone can tell me what is the hashtag for Twitter, if in case any of you wish to post anything on Twitter. In case organizers can hear me, they can just let us know. So we will announce it for all the participants. But before that, over to you, Aaron.
Thank you very much, Pankaj. So I'm not going to hijack the agenda. I'm just going to say a couple of words of thanks to the people who kind of, spent a lot of time and effort in helping us come out with this study. So we're really delighted to launch the 3 research papers that were initially presented at the NHRDN seminar, the national conference that was held here in Mumbai in November 2014. And EY was the research partner for that event. First of all, I'd like to thank all those of the HR committee, the HR fraternity, who really gave a lot of their time and effort to fill out the multiple surveys that we sent them across these 3 themes. And as Pankaj said, the themes that we covered, one was around talent trends in India, which covered really how organizations are dealing with talent issues across the employee life cycle, right from recruitment to exit separation, and what are some of the innovative practices that they're really building in to ensure a higher level of retention and engagement. The second theme was around executive coaching, which we believe is something that is going to really take center stage in the next decade or so in India. The research also covers how executive coaching in India differs from what is practiced in the West, and some of the unique challenges we have here in India, which we'll need to overcome to really ensure that executive coaching delivers ROI both to the organization as well as the